Live from downtown Vancouver at the Vancouver Film School campus, it's time for EP Live. Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool. And we've got a bit of a weird one today. There's a leak in the VFS Cafe at 390 West Hastings in Vancouver. Normally, the cafe is open to the public, and people can come in and watch, and sometimes we get students and stuff. But there's a leak in the cafe, so they had to shut the doors. But that doesn't mean the show stops. The show is still on, and here we are. And thank you very much for joining us. We've got a great episode today. We are visiting Platinum Games. This is something we've been wanting to share with you guys for a long time. That is coming up. We've got reviews of The Tourist, which is a Nintendo Switch game, which I can't wait to tell you about, as well as some double and triple A ports that are on the Switch now that I also can't wait to talk about. But first, we've got a rundown to get to, and this one's going out to Karsten101, who says, I used to watch EP on TV, didn't know you were on YouTube now. I have subbed. Thank you so much, Karsten101. Please tell all your friends that used to watch EP on TV that here we are. Please go ahead and sub and like and share if you dig our content. We'd love that. Let's get started with Karsten's rundown. All right, at least one big PlayStation franchise is taking a swing at other consoles. Sony and the MLB have announced that starting in 2021, the PlayStation exclusive MLB The Show franchise will make the jump to additional console platforms beyond PlayStation. They haven't said specifically what those other consoles might be, but both Nintendo and Microsoft have shared the news on their social media channels, so the Switch and next Xbox are pretty much guaranteed. This will make MLB The Show 21 the first big multi-console game published by Sony, at least since the original PlayStation was released back in the 90s. No word on other Sony exclusive franchises. In the meantime, MLB The Show 20 hits the PS4 and the PS4 only in March. This is interesting, isn't it? I tweeted yesterday that this might be the generation where we see Nathan Drake on Xbox and Halo on PlayStation, and here's how I think they're going to do it. I think that this is the beginning of people being able to play their games wherever the hell they want, and certainly streaming is an ingredient in there. We know that Xbox Game Pass and xCloud is going to be a huge component of the future of Microsoft. We also know that PlayStation is taking PlayStation Now very seriously, and I think what they're probably going to do is allow the app for PlayStation Now eventually. This won't be right away. They're going to kind of leak it onto the other systems. But basically, you're going to be able to port your library of digitally purchased experiences across a variety of platforms. And this might be the first one. I can't see Sony's first-party developer, because it's made by Sony. It's made by the Sony San Diego studios in San Diego. I'm talking about MLB. I can't see them buying development kits for the Switch and the Xbox. That's just such a weird thing for me to wrap my head around. I can see, though, Sony's engineers developing their streaming architecture to run on Switch and Xbox and Mac and PC and phones. And I think that's what might happen. I also think that Xbox might have a Nintendo xCloud app and a PlayStation xCloud app. They're all starting to think about working together. We're moving into an era where that brand around hardware that we purchase into is equivalent to a television set. It's equivalent to purchasing a Blu-ray player. The content will be accessible for us. It's not just about the Netflix equation. It's about taking our library wherever we want to go. The idea that locking a thing, a piece of code to a specific device, I think those days are not going to be around forever. And I think if people want that, they can buy physical and stick with their specific platforms. But this is very interesting. This is epic, huge news, not just if you're a baseball fan, but a big deal that they, Xbox and Nintendo push that out across social media at the same time. This is a big deal, guys. It's exciting, and honestly, change is frightening, but I also think that it's pretty cool that we'll be able to play our stuff wherever we want to play our stuff, just as long as awesome games keep getting made. That would be great. And I'm also very happy for baseball fans who get to play the best baseball experience ever crafted. Sony kills it with the MLB games. on lots of different devices. You know, the game that I keep thinking about is Spider-Man. Yeah, I keep thinking that Spider-Man is one of the coolest pieces of interactive software, and it's just such a tragedy that only PlayStation people have been able to play it, particularly in this era where Spider-Man is bigger than he has ever been before. All of the MCU information, the Oscars that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse won, all of that stuff, all of the hype around Spider-Man, and the only place you can play the best Spider-Man game ever made is on the PlayStation. Great for Sony, but unbelievably tragic for the billions of other people that don't have a PlayStation 4. Billions of other people. All right, let's move on. And before you start worrying about next gen, there are still loads of games coming to current gen systems. Yesterday, during their latest State of Play broadcast, Sony and Capcom officially unveiled the long-rumored remake of Resident Evil 3. Like the new version of Resident Evil 2, the new 3 rebuilds the entire original game from the ground up with new graphics and more modern controls. There will also be a multiplayer component because the game is being bundled with the already announced 4 versus 1 multiplayer game, Resident Evil Resistance. The Resident Evil 2 remake has already outsold the lifetime sales of the original version of the game and is up for numerous Game of the Year nominations, so it's no surprise why Capcom wants more. The new Resident Evil 3 lands in April. And, you know, based on the success of Resident Evil 2 and, you know, probably it's easy to predict that Final Fantasy VII is going to do well. I think we're going to see a lot more dipping into a lot of classic titles and reimagining them, remaking them. I think that's a totally cool thing because obviously the technology allows anything that these developers back in the day could imagine to be realized. And when you look at the visuals for Resident Evil 3, it looks like, you know, some of the movie footage from the Paul W.S. Anderson movies. You know, of course, they went off in Cheeseville. But visually, those movies actually had a really cool aesthetic that adhered to a lot of the aspirational qualities that were a part of Resident Evil, but could not really they couldn't reach it with the architecture of the original PlayStation. But now, you know, all bets are off, and the visuals in these games are going to look better than the movies. So I think this is great. You know, I love Link's Awakening this year on the Nintendo Switch. I'm cool with remakes coming back in interesting new ways. Look at Shadow of the Colossus. You know, that reimagining, that remake of that game. Look at how great that was. Or Burnout Paradise Remastered. And that was just a remaster. I'm cool with awesome titles coming back and being revisited as long as they're done with, you know, real love and real care. And it's a chance for these awesome franchises or awesome experiences to be, you know, enjoyed by a brand new generation of players out there. So, EA, I hope you're listening. I would love the Saboteur remastered across all the systems, but I really want to play it again on my Switch, so please make that. Okay, I know they never will. Thankfully, there's something that isn't a remake coming to the PS4 and other platforms. During the same State of Play, Sony unveiled the first gameplay footage from Babylon's Fall, a new collaboration between Square Enix and Bayonetta developer Platinum Games. It takes place in a medieval fantasy world and looks like it combines the fluid action gameplay of other Platinum titles with the visual style of Dark Souls. Babylon's Fall was first announced shortly after the last Platinum and Square collaboration, Nier Automata, but this is the first good look at gameplay. Expect to be playing it next year. Oh my God, I cannot wait for this freaking game. I love Platinum's take on all of this stuff. You're going to see how much of a fanboy I am of Platinum a little bit later in today's show, but this is exciting stuff. This game looks absolutely sensational. Platinum, you know, I sometimes liken them to the way Treasure was back in the 2D days. You know, every time they came out with something, whether it was your favorite or not, it was interesting, it was unique, and it was polished, and it was really tuned, you know? And Platinum is like that, but with 3D and tremendous ambition. And I can't tell you what an incredible thrill it was to walk through the halls of Platinum and to see the studio and to, you know, meet the leaders of the team and talk a little bit about their history. I'm psyched for you guys to see our interview today. Yeah, I love this company, and I love their games. I can't wait to play this game. Now, over on the Switch, Nintendo has scored a hit indie game that has a lot of players very excited. Axiom Verge 2, a sequel to the 2015 Metroidvania side-scroller, was announced yesterday during a new Nintendo Direct. It's coming in fall 2020, and right now the Switch is the only confirmed platform. The previous game was a multi-platform release, not finding its way to the Switch until 2017, so don't be surprised if the sequel hits other systems after the Switch, but we'll have to wait and see. Another hit indie game, Golf Story, is getting a sequel called Sports Story on the Switch next spring. These indie showcases are just outstanding. Nintendo's been doing some great work, collecting and collaborating with all kinds of amazing indie developers. What's the developer's name? Thomas Happ. Yeah, I've talked to Thomas over the years, met him at PAX a couple of years ago. Wonderful guy, and I'm so excited that he's got a sequel coming. I enjoyed the first Axiom Verge, but I have to admit that it came out in an era where it felt like we were playing a new Metroidvania every week, and I haven't gone back to the game, and I really want to, and now that the sequel is coming, I want to come back to it. I keep hovering over purchasing that game again for the Nintendo Switch, even though I had it on the Vita, I had it on the PlayStation 4. I think it came up as a freebie I have it on Steam, and I think it came up as a freebie on Xbox, but I haven't gone back. You guys know my schedule. I want to now, though. I want to play that again, because famously, it was created by one person. Just like our friend Brian Provinciano and Ben Rivers, Thomas Happ likes to work in solitude and build a tremendous amount of material, and it was an incredibly ambitious project. So congrats on that. Golf Story was terrific, so I'm really looking forward to Sports Story as well. Just psyched about these new indie gems that are coming to the Nintendo Switch. And I think the review that I've got coming up kind of qualifies as an indie gem.